Okay, we'll get started. We're joined on the dais by UConn head coach Gino Auriemma and student athletes Katie Lou Samuelson and Nafisa Collier. Coach, if you want to start off with a quick opening statement, and then we'll take questions for the student athletes.
Thanks, Bernie. No, there's not much you can say, really, when you see something like that, the way it kind of transpired. You know, there's really no way to adequately describe it, because it's just a feeling. You know, we just had something going on that's kind of hard to capture. You know, and we were able to capture it and hold on to it for a long, long time. And it started off, the first 3 or 4 possessions defensively, and we kind of set a tone for how we wanted it to go. And we made hardly any mistakes at all defensively, and that just got everything going down the other end. And, for the most part this season, when Lou gets it going early and makes some shots early, it just changes everything for our team, because she just has the ability to just blow games wide open. And the confidence that we get from that just spills over into everyone else. And we're the same team that shot 38% for long stretches last night. And tonight, we shoot 70%. So a lot of it has to do with, the way Lou shot the ball. But more importantly, it's the way she played, not just the way she shot the ball. That was more important to me. And, and FISA obviously, did what FISA does. And, she didn't get many shots tonight because Lou shot it every time she got it. But sometimes that happens. Last time after South Florida, FISA took every shot. So at least they're conscientious of each other.
Please raise your hand as we have microphone holders, and we'll now take questions for the student athletes.
Katie Lee, can you just describe what that zone was like today? And I mean, did the basketball feel small and the basket feel like an ocean, and when did you know you had it going?
Well, I think the thing that kind of helped me out was I didn't start off the game focusing on threes, and I've kind of been doing that in the past couple games, and it hasn't been going well. So I tried to focus on just playing, and they were kind of going in, and I kept shooting it. It felt good, and I was getting open shots, and my teammates kept giving me the ball, so I was going to keep shooting until – actually, I was going to keep shooting.
Katie Lou, when is the last time you had a shooting performance like that, over here on your left? When's the last time you had a shooting performance like that?
I don't really know. I actually didn't even know that I made all my threes today. I could have sworn I missed one. Actually, really am convinced that I missed one. But I think back in high school I probably shot similar to this, but it hasn't been anything recently where I've gone 10 for 10 before.
Nafisa, can you just talk about what it was like being on the court, seeing what she was doing? I mean, you guys have said before she can shoot great, you're not surprised, but does something like this finally make you a little bit surprised?
I'm not really surprised. I'm kind of surprised it didn't happen sooner because Lou is such a great shooter. We all know that Lou is a great player, so the fact that she came out and played so well tonight, I'm really happy for her. And we were actually talking on the bench, like, there's no way you went 10 for 10. That's just crazy. It's unbelievable. So I think she had a great game.
Katie Lou, Gina was talking about your all-around game tonight. When you're shooting like that, does it affect the rest of your game, or is your shooting affected by how you're playing?
I think my shooting is definitely affected by how I play, and I was trying to make sure that I was playing as hard as I could on defense and cutting hard, and then my shot kind of follows after that. Games where I focus on shooting, I tend to have overall worse games than, not just because I'm shooting bad, but overall don't do as much or try to do things as hard. So I definitely was trying to focus on just everything else but shooting, and it kind of followed after that.
Okay, Lou, to follow up on that, you got an early steal, you got a tough offensive rebound, some assists. How important was that for you to kind of get into the game that way and then let the other stuff follow after that?
Yeah, it was really important. I definitely wanted to do other things, and I think that's, like I said, why the shooting kind of followed today, was that I didn't go into the game thinking specifically, well, I want to shoot 10 for 10 or I'm going to shoot threes. I just kind of was confident out there and didn't really focus on if I was missing or not.
Katie Lou, overall, the game, the way you guys performed, did it almost feel surreal? You guys, nobody's supposed to win a championship game like that. Or did you just feel like, you know what, this is who we really are when we play well?
I think it showed just how focused we can be and how much better we can be on defense when we really focus on that. And that's kind of what got our offense going. And that's when we have our best offensive games, is when we do play like that on defense or really stick to the game plan and know what we're doing. A lot of times we might not be as focused or know what's going on in scout, so we kind of want to build off of this and just always be ready to go, because we do perform better when we do start with our defense, and then it translates into offense.
Katie over here. I was wondering if you've gotten much feedback this week from the HBO special, where you kind of pointed out you almost burned the place down by cooking a hamburger. And was this kind of a diversion to all that tonight?
I don't know. I don't know. I just am not a great cook. So, yeah.
Nafisa, can you just comment on this team's record in the American Conference? 82 games since the conference was formed, 82-0, and winning championship games, by this kind of margin. What kind of pride does the team take in that, and where do you feel this conference stands going into the NCAA tournament?
I think we take a lot of pride in that, just playing for our team now and, playing for the teams that came before us, just kind of trying to, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I think, we have a lot of pride in the way that we play, and we try to come out, focus every game, and sometimes we do it better than others. So I think the fact that we've done so well is a great testament to our coaching staff and the kind of players that they recruit.
Any other questions for our student athletes? Thank you, ladies. Questions now for head coach Auriemma?
Gino, probably in like the last 30 years, you had 4 players score 39 points. You've had 2 in a week, 2 different players do it. It seems kind of hard to fathom that could happen. Just your thoughts on kind of having 2 so different players able to contribute like that.
I don't know what the exact reason would be, other than both Lou and FISA have unique skills. They're not necessarily just good basketball players. They have unique ability to score points. So the number of points that they score, the number of shots that they make, never really ever surprises me. That segment there where we were just going, with Lou and FISA and pick and rolls, most of the second half. That's kind of like that's a. If we did that every game, the whole game, both of them would get 30 every night. But that's generally not the way we play. And plus, both of them are benefiting from, we don't have a lot of depth, so we're not making a lot of substitutions during the course of the game. This is probably one of the thinnest years that we've had in those 30 years that you're talking about, because normally, players are kind of in and out. These guys, they know they're going to play 30 minutes every night. I mean, not Lou today. I mean, how many minutes she played? 28. So that's how many. They know that. They're going to get their minutes, and they're just going to play. So they're going to get lots of opportunities, and they're very efficient, both of them. Like they generally don't need a lot of shots to, to score a lot of points. I had a talk with Lou the other day about that mythical, that people talk about, that 180 club, that if you're shooting 50% from the floor and 40% from the three-point line and 90% from the free throw line, that adds up to 180, And I think the last player we ever had to do that was probably Sue. It's not easy to do, 50 and 40 and 90. And today she was like 90, 90, and 90. I don't know, or 90, 100, and 100, whatever it was. I don't think she missed a shot. She missed 2 shots. And when you talk to players about what they can do, you're being honest and you're being realistic. And the first words out of her mouth were, "Yeah, I need to be a better free throw shooter." So there's always things that we're trying to help them with, but some of the stuff, her and Feast, they just brought it with them. They came here with that stuff, and then we just try to put them in the spots where they can use the stuff that they have and try to get them a little better.
Gino, over here. How far into 10 for 10 did you know she was in the zone?
Well, somebody mentioned it. The first couple possessions, she had a steal, she had a rebound, and the shot that she made, the first shot that she made, the 3, was not an easy 3. And her approach to that 3 was not loosey-goosey, like sloppy, which, sometimes shooters get sloppy. It was really tight, and it was really, like, solid. And I thought, And then the next 2 were exactly the same. And I've seen her when she gets like that. It's a thing to watch, man, because she probably could have got 50 at least tonight. But by the time that first quarter ended, this was going to be a different kind of night for Lou. Different kind of night.
Gino, you said just a couple days ago that this was a pretty good team, and you were very hesitant about saying, pretty soon I'm probably going to have to say they're a good team or a very good team. Did you step over that line today?
Well, I think I thought today we played great. I thought today everything we tried to do panned out. Every defensive call, every switch, every rotation that we tried, every single thing we tried to do, we did it exactly the way we planned to do it, exactly the way we went over it. The offensive stuff, same thing. This is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it. This is where we want our shots to come from. And it happened. Well, none of that stuff happened last night. So it's not like last night we went in and going, listen, we're going to really do a good job tomorrow night. Tonight we're going to be lousy. So it doesn't always work out that way. But today, they were pretty locked in. And are we great? Are we not great? Are we almost great? Are we pretty good? We've been good enough to win every game. And every time they need to be like better than good, they've been better than good. What more can I say about them?
Coach, Jose's teams have been, one of the best have been one of the best in the conference over the years. But for some reason, it just seems like you guys just can turn it on offensively against his teams more than anybody else. Is it the competition that that it's Jose and they're a good team, the best in the conference, other than you guys? Or what is it that you guys seem to just really light him up?
That's a good question because ever since 1985 or whenever it was, whenever the Final Four was in L.A. one year. It was 85, no, or 93. I don't even know when the heck it was. Final Four was in L.A. And I remember running into Jose, and he was just taking over the program. And he said, hey, you know, we'd like for you guys to come down to our place. And I said, sure. You know, and we happened to be in Florida, and we played them, and we had Dana Taurasi, so whatever those years were, late 90s, early 2000. And then they came up to our place for the very first game that we ever played them at home, and the game went into overtime. And I remember saying to him, I said, yo, that's it, series is over. You know, you get one game at your place and one game at our place, that's it, we're done. You know, and then obviously they're in our, you know, they joined our league, and a lot's changed since then. But when we tell our players, since we, from the time, you know, whether it was in the Big East or whether it's here, and we said, hey, they're one of the better teams in the league, and they're one of the better teams in the country, and we're gonna treat it as such. And I just think that we've had some really close games with them that have turned out to not be such close games, but were for 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And we've had instances where they don't match up with us very well a lot of times. It's just not a good matchup for them a lot of times. And especially when we've got it going like that, because they can't score enough points. You know, the last couple of years, you know, Courtney Williams was really tough to handle. But we knew she was going to take X number of shots. And Laxa the same way. She's going to take X number of shots. And I think we just have too much offensive firepower for them. That's the best way I could explain it.
Gino, you're a strategist. Playing devil's advocate, you're on the opposing team coaching against UConn. What game plan would you implement to stop that skill sets and talent that you have right now?
Well, if you gave me the right 5 guys, I would tell you in a heartbeat what I would do. But that might have to wait a month before I tell you that. So if you call me sometime in the middle of April, I'll be happy to have that discussion with you. But there's, you know, every team has its issues. You know, we're no different. We have a way of covering them up, maybe a little bit better than some teams. But we hope that we have some answers for everybody that we play against. And they're not always the same answers because the questions aren't always the same, you know. So depending on who we're playing, we might have to come up with something a little bit different than what we did the game before. And luckily, we have a versatile enough group of players that we can do that. You know, we're not going to play against, you know, UCF the same way we're going to play against USF. They're 2 different teams, 2 different styles of play, and we're not going to play the exact same way. And there's some teams we just don't match up very well against, and it's a struggle. So we just do our best to cover up our warts.
Gino, going back to Katie Lou for a second, could you talk a little about her mindset, toughness as a shooter? You know, like someone like Diana's, you know, tough as steel, and Kalena had a perfect shot, and Maya's a natural. What makes her such a great shooter? And, you know, she was 2 for 12 against South Carolina. It was really pretty awful. I mean, how tough is she mentally as a shooter? And just kind of walk me through some of what makes her tick in that way.
The discussions that I've had with her, and we had one today at shoot-around, always center on, and today especially, the more you focus in on your ability to shoot the ball, at some point, the more that's going to drag you down as a basketball player. Because your whole identity, when you're labeled a great shooter, your whole identity and your reputation and the image that people have of you is you're a great shooter. And then you start to think, well, I've got to live up to that. And then you miss a couple and you start to, mentally, you start to press, you know? So with shooters like that, whether it was Diana or Maya or, you know, Kalina, obviously, my coaching point with them was always, I'm not interested in how many threes you make. I'm not interested in how many, you know, how many of those over the course of a game or a year. I want to know, like, what else are you going to do when you are not shooting the ball? Because the more you focus on that and you start to take your mind off of that, you'd be surprised how quickly shots start going in. To the point that one spring I had to tell Maya Moore, in every pickup game you play, if I find out that you've taken 1 3 in the following week, you're not going to play anymore in pickup. Because it's such an easy out for kids that are really good shooters. And they never become basketball players. Lou's not any different than, the only one that was different was D. And Maya was different because Maya always, I've said this before, Maya would think something's wrong with the ball. I said this before. If Maya missed 4 shots in a row, she would ask the manager for a new ball. It's the ball's fault. Diana, just, it was inconceivable to her that she could ever miss shots. So she never worried about it because she knew the next one's going in. And Lou, I think Lou, starting as a freshman here, was a little too fixated on how many threes can I make every game. And it affects her. And hopefully, little by little, that doesn't become part of her mindset anymore. That doesn't become how she identifies herself, like, yeah, I'm a great three-point shooter. Because she's capable of being more than that. Today, she played a great basketball game. And she shot the ball great, obviously, but she played a great basketball game today. She guarded the other team's players. She rebounded the ball. She was engaged in the game. You know, she had this look about her that was just different. And I don't think it's because she was making threes. I think that's the reason she made as many threes as she did. She's got ways to go, don't get me wrong. She's got a ways to go. She is from California, so we got some issues.
We'll take one more question.
Gino, 82-0 against this conference. You didn't trail for a second during this entire tournament. Is the conference rising with you and you just don't see that they're getting better because you guys are getting better too? Or where, because you had said that in a couple of years you had hoped that the level of competition would get back there.
It has. I think the level of competition has improved. You certainly had a little shakeup in the standings, you know, this year. You have more teams get more competitive. I always said if you take our team out, there's a lot of competitive games being played among everybody else. People have a tendency to forget. Until Notre Dame got really, really good for a couple of years, there weren't many times in the old Big East that we didn't do the same thing. Maybe not to this extent, but the same thing would happen. You know, we'd run through a tournament and not lose a game, obviously, and not lose a half, not, you know. And I remember it happening early on, and it happened for a long time. And we won like 10 or 11 or 12 straight Big East tournaments. Same way. And it took a while, but then after a while, it does change. And does it ever change as fast as you want it to? Probably not. But what ends up happening, though, is schools change coaches, or coaches change the recruiting, or their philosophies change, and next thing you know, you've got a much more competitive environment. The problem that this league is going to have is they're always going to be determined, or they're always going to be viewed as Oh, yeah, they're in the league where Connecticut wins all the time. Yeah, well, who wins the Big 12 every year? Anybody know? Do you know? No, it's Baylor. Right. Baylor wins the Big 12 every year. Okay? And Maryland's won the Big 10 every year they've been in the league. And Notre Dame went to ACC, and they win the league every year. And up until recently, Stanford wins every Pac-12 championship. So the same thing is happening at a lot of places, but people just love to point in our direction a lot of times for a lot of different reasons. And, you know, I checked the top 25, and when Temple got in, it was us, South Florida, and Temple. We had 3 teams in the top 25. I think the Big Ten had Maryland, Ohio State, maybe one other. I don't think so, though. I don't think so, though. And SEC had 3, if I'm not mistaken. And the Big 12 had Baylor, Oklahoma, West Virginia, maybe, at the time. But not many. Not many. So, you know, the ACC, because they took 8 of our teams or 7 of our teams, whatever it was, you know, all of a sudden got way better. But every league has the same issues. It's just that, you know, we haven't been around long enough. And this year, to be honest with you, our RPI was 5th of all the conferences in the country. So I think our RPI was higher than the Big Tens, if I'm not mistaken. So things are happening. Are they happening fast enough? No. Are they happening as fast as I want them to happen? No. No. But I said that in the Big East too, and then all of a sudden it happened, and I was pissed because every night was a battle.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.